Welcome back to my floor. Today we're going to do the second half of what I started last week, which if you didn't see that, linked up there. But we are going through the last two books in the book series. The name of this book is Secret, so strap in. I hope you are so excited for another 20-ish minutes of me not being able to read. Because as I said in the last video, all of these recaps are taken from Wikipedia. And whoever wrote the Wikipedias, not good. They're not good, but I do not have the books with me, and I do not have the time to read all of them to recap them for you myself. So it is what it is. We're just gonna get into it. We're starting at book 4. As we left it, Cass fell asleep in like another trance because of a chocolate given to her, and we are starting now in book 4. So this book is called This Isn't What It Looks Like. Ooh ah. So we start with Cass in her trance, and she is somewhere she doesn't know. It turns out she is 500 years in the past, and she does not know who she is, where she came from, or what she is doing. While here, she sees a young boy stuck in a tree and tries to rescue him, but she only hears him repeatedly shout the word goat. And like he's very frightened. He ends up running down the road to his father. But neither of them like look at her. Like they don't see her basically. But she eventually in a puddle realizes she has no reflection and that this boy was shouting ghost, not goat. So, fun things. While this is happening, so Max is visiting Cass in the hospital, where she's comatose, basically. He's upset that the tuning fork won't bring her back and that Yoji is in Japan. But it is important to note that Max has overcome his fear of and/or allergy of chocolate and now eats bars in a matter of seconds. Back out to Cass. She realizes that she has traveled in time and arrived in the Renaissance to like Middle Ages. They're not like super specific. She also realizes she's invisible, not dead. In the street, she meets a seer who can see her because she has something called the second sight, obtained by an object called the double monocle. As discussed prior, all the books focus around a 5 cents. One of the 5 senses. A 5 cents. One of the 5 senses. This one is obviously sight. This seer also does some fortune telling with a deck of tarot cards, showing her that the Ace of Wands card is upside down, meaning that an old wrong must be righted. The seer then gives a suggestion that maybe something has been stolen or she has stolen something. She shows Cass the Fool's card with a picture of a fool, coincidentally the one that she saw while in the streets. When the seer introduces her name as Cass or Cassandra, Cass's memories come back, and she remembers the magician, the jester, the secret, etc. And she realizes she's on a mission to find the secret, and since she is the new Tears Society secret keeper. So basically, she remembers everything. Yay! So the seer disappears after basically helping her figure out who she is and leaves Cass with the double monocle. Fun. While all this is happening, Max goes to visit Petro, who is playing Terracino with the circus crew. And while he visits Petro's like, hey, tarot cards are involved. Because he goes like, the Ace of Wands card is coming up upside down, which refers to the fact that the tuning fork was taken from their principal in the last book and it needs to be returned so that the tuning fork can work. And that he also like looks at Max and goes, you must bring her home from her head with mind reading. These books are so unserious and I love them. Cass experiments with the double monocle. She finds out she can see through walls when a parade comes to the streets announcing that the Duke is giving gifts of riches to the king. Cass takes advantage of her invisibility, climbs onto the parade, believing that it'll lead her to the palace where she can find the jester. The parade, however, is raided by a woman called Anastasia and her bandits, who give the riches to the poor. She also discovers a lodestone that attracts a lot of metal, which she keeps. Back in school in the real world, Max Ernest is about to return the tuning fork to Miss Johnson when he meets the new secretary, Opal, who pranks him into not knocking on Miss Johnson's door, resulting in her scolding him. The principal is dressed like a queen because of the upcoming Rin Fair. Just at school, sure. Max Ernest sees that Miss Johnson is wearing the lodestone as a necklace, and she explains that her great-great-aunt Clara wore it originally. Back in Cass's realm, she sees a man telling a creature to sleep in the dog kennel, and this creature is Mr. Cabbageface. When she calls out his name, the homunculus looks at her, meaning that he could see Cass. Cass realizes that if Cabbageface is here, then Lord Pharaoh, the founder of the Midnight Sun, is too, and she also realizes that the tale of Mr. Cabbageface, the author, got the place where the homunculus stayed in the palace wrong. It wasn't a pigsty, but a dog kennel. Fun facts. Back in the real world, Benjamin Brillink, former classmate, not too important, arrives from his old school, the new Promethean, and he's completely changed. He now wears a tuxedo and owns a double monocle. He eats lunch with Max Ernest and Danielle and Glob in the nuts table. And Benjamin reveals a note stuck on Max Ernest's back saying a strange message. Cass is at the kennels. She talks to the homunculus after giving him some leftover chicken as he was starving. When Cass gets the homunculus to speak a bit, the jester arrives and carries on the conversation as noted in the tale of Cabbageface, a gothic tale. The jester frees the homunculus before he's caught and sent to the dungeon, which is the place where the chamber pots are emptied. Back at home, Max Ernest's parents, who are now back together again, announce that they're having another kid to him, and that it will be a baby boy. In the dungeons where Cass is, Lord Pharaoh suddenly arrives, bumping into an invisible Cass, and causes her double monocle to fall off. Lord Pharaoh picks it up and basically can see Cass now. He confiscates all of Cass's belongings, which is just a bit of the chocolate she had left over, and throws Cass into a cell with the jester. Cass reveals to the jester that she is invisible and his great whatever granddaughter. He first basically goes, "This is madness, I'm going insane," but slowly starts to believe her. Back at school, Max Ernest realizes the message decodes Lord Pharaoh lives. And at school, Amber invited Max Ernest for a fortune-telling session. And when telling him that he is in love with Cass, Benjamin reads her mind and reveals to everyone that she lied, thus, ruining her reputation, which, okay, they're 11. It's not that deep. Benjamin reveals that he can mind read and agrees to read Cass's mind. And basically to get to Cass, because he visited her the first time. Apparently this time they will have to, Max is gonna have to fake an injury while Benjamin sneaks in. Okay. Back in Cass world, as I'm gonna call it, Anastasia has freed everyone from the dungeons, and they all flee to her campsite. The janitor in the hospital notices Cass whispering the secret, what is the secret, but decides not to immediately report it. Then Max Ernest charges into the emergency room screaming because he has an epileptic fit, with the combined result of his allergy to vinyl and cardiac arrest, with the effect of white coat syndrome. But Max's cover soon blown with him going back to Cass's room. I don't know why he needed to fake an injury anyway. But he comes in just as Benjamin was about to see something. Back at home, Max Ernest receives an email from Yoji telling him that the school Benjamin went to was run by the Midnight Sun, with Dr. L being the principal, and then, and like, this is Max going, oh, now I see why Benjamin was, like, so eager to help. He just wanted to know things to tell his boss. Back in Cass World, they're at the campsite. The bandits are ambushed by soldiers. So that's fun. Every time they jump back to Cass, it is like one sentence, and I want you to know this. They're giving me like 7 sentences in a row about Benjamin and like Max, and they're giving me one about Cass. I promise I'm not doing all this skipping around on purpose. But back at school, Max eavesdrops on Benjamin and Amber, where Amber's begging him to like let her try the monocle. Eventually, she just lunges and grabs it and starts seeing through the walls and almost catches Max. Max discovers that Benjamin has no mind-reading powers and it's just the monocle. Benjamin tries to get the monocle back, but Max Ernest runs with it because apparently he picked it up at some times. He trips and Opal catches the monocle and reports Benjamin and Amber to the principal and sends Max Ernest to the nurse's office. She then leaves her purse there, which has her monocle in it, giving Max the chance to get the monocle. Back in Cass World at the campsite, the other soldiers and their dogs search for Cass. The homunculus saves her by letting the dogs chase him. He also leaves Cass a treasure chest. In that chest, Cass finds the lodestone, and the Jester and Cass save everyone by basically throwing a sword into the lodestone. And it's used as like a trick where Cass throws a sword, and it's instantly attracted to the magnet, and it looks like it's just like coming out of nowhere, basically, causing the soldiers to beg for forgiveness. In the hospital, Max can't find Cass as she has left the hospital. Even though she's still comatose, ? Like, they just let her leave. But he uses the monocle for the first time and looks into the mirror at himself, revealing his future self eating massive amounts of chocolates and writing a book. Basically implying that the writer of the book, Pseudonymous, might be Max Ernest. Back in Cass World at the campsite, Anastasia discovers the truth that the Jester has befriended an invisible girl. Cass draws herself on a scroll with some clay, and Anastasia leaves, and the Jester promises Cass that he will find her the secret from Lord Pharaoh and make clues for her to find. Back at Cass's house, everything is a mess and disorganized as Melanie is depressed. Melanie, Larry, and Wayne go out, leaving Max Ernest to look after Cass, who is still comatose. Yeah, let's leave the 11-year-old alone with the comatose 11-year-old. Sure. Okay. He like just has a long talk to her and plays Yoji's guitar tunes from his PC. But it turns out that Yoji was actually in Cass's bedroom and was playing live. I don't know. I thought Yoji was in Japan. Suddenly, the power goes out, and it's revealed Benjamin cut their power. These kids are 11. Fucking 11. What the hell? And he comes in, he's like demanding the monocle. But just as the fight was about to start, someone throws Yoji's guitar at Benjamin, knocking him out. And it was revealed that it's Cass who threw the guitar because she woke up because of Max's speech. It was a combination of Max's speech, Yoji's heavy metal, and then the sudden jolt of electric power when Benjamin cut the power. So Max ties Benjamin up just in time when Melanie, Larry, and Wayne return. In the meantime, Max's brother is born and is named Paul Clay. How long was his mother pregnant? How did he not know? How much time has passed? it seems like no time has passed. I'm so confused. At the Ren Fair, Glob, who's one of the other kids at school, live blogs his famous food blog, typing down all kinds of events. But at 11:35 a.m., Glob writes on his blog that when he went down to the riverbank where there's smoke because he thought there was a barbecue there, he witnessed the midnight sun chanting the word secret over and over again near a fire with a very bright ball. Cool, just witnessing cult ritual on like a Sunday. Fun. He then sees Miss Mavis drink from a goblet and give it to an invisible Lord Pharaoh to drink. The midnight sun catches Glob, but he flees before hiding in a cave under a hamburger-shaped rock. Back at the fair, the trio, and then a normal bin, are at the Camera Obscura viewing the fair. When they leave, Cass goes to a tent, and the seer has a conversation with her. When she comes out and goes back in, there's no seer inside, but a robot who tells fortunes. So, like, something's going on. The robot gives her cards with the things that the seer said, but the words turn into normal things after Cass reads it. During the joust, an armored man called Sir Unknown, it's Lord Pharaoh, battles Yoji. Because sure, an 11-year-old can fight an adult. That's totally cool. The armored man tells the Master of Arms that he represents Mary Queen of Scots, Miss Mavis. Just then, Opal tells everyone that the joust will stop because a student had participated in the joust, and Yoji had to leave. As this happens, Miss Johnson bestows Unknown as a winner, and he takes the lodestone from her neck, and since he knows this secret is on it. The rest of the Midnight Sun, disguised as guards, flee as Miss Johnson demands that the lodestone is returned to her, or else the trio will be expelled. Which is confusing. It's not their fault that the stone got stolen. I don't know why she's blaming them, but, and then in the Camera Obscura, Cass, Opal reveals, it's revealed that Opal is actually Owen playing a part, who explains that, that he did, like, everything he did to, like, help them get the monocle, basically. Then Cass uses the monocle to see that the jester is there, and if she doesn't wear the monocle, she can't see him. Suddenly, Daniel, not Danielle, calls Max Ernest and tells him about Glob's emergency blog post, and the three of them rush to the riverbank mentioned, and while Max and Yoji rescue Glob, who eats a lot of Cass's special trail mix, I guess, Cass rushes to the mentioned fireplace, where she meets Sir Unknown, who reveals himself to be Lord Pharaoh, who is invisible. Lord Pharaoh demands that Cass tell him how the lodestone works, but Cass distracts him by throwing the monocle and running away with the lodestone. Okay, sure. Max Ernest then hears Cass calling for help, and Yoji comes out, uses a branch from a tree to trip Lord Pharaoh, and then they hang him upside down. Then that night, at Medieval Days restaurant, Cass, Max, Yoji, Paul Clay, and Benjamin have dinner. The trio tried to solve the message said to be written on the lodestone by the jester, but fail. Later, at the fire station, Max Ernest comes with Paul Clay's toy, which has magnetic powder on it. The lodestone attracts all of the powder, and is covered by the powder except the lining of silver that spells out, as above, so below. Cass is disappointed with the result until the postman comes and gives a trunk to Cass. He explains that the trunk has been to all 7 continents in the world, and the recipient is her. When he leaves, Cass finds out that the password combination on the trunk is as so, and unlocks it, revealing the treasure that was stolen 500 years earlier by Anastasia. When she goes home, Melanie finds a scroll with a drawing of Cass on it, the one she drew over 500 years ago, and she tells her there's a scrap of papyrus stuck on it. Cass steals the papyrus knowing that the secret is on it and rushes to her room to read it, but the papyrus is rapidly turning to dust. And that is the end of book 4. We have one book left, book 5. So what have we done? We've done, this one was sight, we've done taste before that. We did sound and we did smell. So the last one is touch. Let's get our little fingers on the 5th book. You have to stop this. So our story begins this time with the Oath of Traces. There's a quick preface concerning an ibis bird that stands for a quick moment, but then crosses the river Nile. Then the story moves to an event happening at more or less the same moment. An innocent man is being executed moments after inscribing a fateful secret on a piece of papyrus and hieroglyphs. The story then moves forward in time with Cass and Max heading to the garage sale Larry and Wayne are having. Cass confides to Max that she hid the jester's trunk in the pit behind the firehouse. They dig it out, open it, and discover that it contains a blue ring with a picture of an ibis and a scrap of linen. She discovers that they contain hieroglyphs, meaning either because what ibis or because what throw. Cass and Max Ernest, it then cuts to Cass and Max Ernest being on the bus with Yoji, discussing their field trip to the Egyptian section of the museum with classmates Glob and Daniel, who is only known for his dreadlocks but wishes to find a thing that he gets to be known for. You know what? Good for him. As he should. They did meet Daniel's father, Albert 3D, because he has 3 degrees in different subjects, who shows them a handsome mummy who is executed for some strange reason. Cass reasons that the physician from hundreds of years ago who was executed because of discovering the secret, which is basically like, I know who that mummy is, which good for her, I guess. Cass, Yoji, and Max decide to hang back and examine the mummy when she notices a blue ring that she found in the jester's trunk and matches an imprint on the mummy's finger. Their principal then startles Cass and she scolds them for not staying with the group. Cass's jacket gets caught on the finger and she accidentally breaks it off. Later, as punishment, Albert 3D, who is actually really cool about what happened, makes them sort some museum shards, and while sorting, Cass convinces Yoji and Max to come with her to examine the mummy. When they do, they discover that it's gone. Later, Albert meets their parents and tells them that if the kids are hiding the mummy, they should give it to him. When the kids and their parents return home, the kids virtually chat. They watch the surveillance video and notice a shadowy figure exit the museum before they do. They also notice the man's leg has a piece of cloth trailing behind him and realizes that the figure is the mummy. Nobody took the mummy. The mummy got up and it walked away. Good. Got a feeling this is Lord Pharaoh. We then move to a luxurious hotel where Miss Mavis is talking to Amber, who has developed acne that has horribly disfigured her face. She begs Mavis to help her, and the next day, Cass and Max meet Amber, who is a bit prettier than usual. That night, they have a Terces meeting with Lusano as a special guest. He tells them that Lord Pharaoh wants Cass's ring, and will basically get it from her, in addition to the mummy's missing finger. The trio decides to steal the finger from the museum. To do so, Cass wears a dress and her hair long. Max and Yoji simply wear sunglasses, and Yoji wears a camera to pose as a tourist. The trio find the finger. The trio, which, lame disguise. You have a whole guy whose thing is disguises, and this is the best you can do anyway. When they go in to find the finger, they find out it has been stolen, and the monocle is found in this place. Suddenly, they hear voices, and they hide in a crate outside. That is its... and this crate is eventually shipped to Vegas. So the kids are shipped to Vegas. Again, we don't know where they're from originally, but they're shipped to Vegas in a crate. In Vegas, they discover that Pharaoh, who's still invisible, is posing as a magician and playing at a nearby theater. Cass buys everybody tickets using some gold coins from the jester's trunk. She sells just one coin and gets 1/10 of its value, which is considered still a sizable amount in cash. They spend the next 2 hours having fun. First, they get sundaes, then the boys go on to Adventureland and record their own rap video after 18 rides on a zipline. Cass reluctantly goes to a nail salon and is pampered. While there, she sees a hieroglyph from the papyrus in the trunk. She could not translate on the window. The spa worker says it means running water. Then Yoji and Max come to meet her, jokingly addresses her, "Your royal hotness." I love 11-year-olds being our main characters. They then go to the theater, and Cass is tricked into handing over the ring on stage while trapped in the Pharaoh's dressing room. Max and Yoji discover some time travel chocolate from the chocolate plantation, which is in the closet and invisible as well. Because we can't just have simple things. They also discover a golden cape. And they reason that the mummy didn't really walk itself out of the museum, but was carried out by the pharaoh, who is invisible, so it looked like it was walking by itself. Fair. Practical. The duo runs on to the stage and throw the cape over the pharaoh so he is visible. They force feed him the chocolate so that he's transported to another era for good and becomes someone else's problem. Period. Good for them. The Skelton sisters, who are also there at the show, remember, pop stars from the previous books, leave with Miss Mavis. Then Cass impulsively puts the ring on the mummy finger, causing the mummy to come to life. I love literature. Cass remembers the hieroglyphics from the papyrus and pieces together what they said. Using knowledge from her Egypt class and what the spa worker said, she realizes the key to the secret is to answer the question, why did the ibis cross the river? And she asks the mummy this question. The mummy then speaks the secret to get to the other side. The fact, the secret that the Tursis Society were protecting for years was a joke. And this is too much for Cass and me as well, and she faints. So, fun. When she wakes up, Max and Yoji are crouched over her. After finding out she's okay, Max then realizes that they need to, escape. So he somehow charms the crowd and runs out of the theater and meets the so-called cult that consists of people who claim to be the priests of Amun. They reveal themselves to be members of the Tursis Society. Cass and Yoji are already riding with them. When the trio return home, they are treated as heroes. Everyone they know, including Albert and Daniel, Albert and Cass's mother seem to be hitting it off and getting closer, so it's implied that, Daniel and Cass might become step-siblings. Even Miss Johnson welcomes them and gives them the tuning fork. Later, Cass confides to Petro about the secret, who explains that the real secret is the other side. And he also explains that his brother died that morning. When Cass goes into his trailer again, he has disappeared. The story then moves on to the graduation. Unclear if this is middle school graduation or high school graduation, where Max gives a speech that makes everyone cry, and Cass and Yoji are very proud of what their friend Chip is, and the trio all care about each other. Then Cass and Yoji's hands brush against each other, and Cass is turned out to be both shocked and shy when she finds their pinkies interlocked, indicating that her and Yoji will have some sort of romance. Good for her. The story ends as the entire auditorium begins to clap, and Amber quietly exits the edge of the bleachers. Nobody notices her get into a limousine with Miss Mavis and drive slowly into the sunset in search of a never-ending sun. The epilogue of this book, because this book has an epilogue, reveals Mr. Bosch to be Max Ernest. He does not reveal what happens to Cass or Yoji or anyone else, but he says that the secret itself is a secret that opens up more secrets and warns the reader not to let anyone give away the ending. So that was all 5 books. So I remember loving these as a kid. Are the plots a little ridiculous and insane? Yes. I think these came out around probably the same time as the Percy Jackson books, so I'm not going to say either of them were, like, influenced by each other and, like, just the hyper interesting, weird, like, trio of kids going on adventures thing. It was just a popular genre. It's always a popular genre for young adults. They were great books. They were fun books. They get a little too, like, it feels like the 5th book, the plot just kind of, like, they needed a way to wrap it up. It just kind of, compared to the rest of them. But other than that, would love to see it adapted. As always, I'm always a big fan of adapting books to visuals, especially if it creates more interest in the books themselves. I do highly recommend you read the books yourself. Still, that is all I have. That is all I have to say. Cool. Yeah, I have nothing else. I will mention for Andy, yeah, I know I missed the monkey blood the first time. In one of the first books, like, they drink monkey blood or something to stay young. That's, like, something the Midnight Sun does. Cool. Whatever. Anything I think that could be fixed about these books? Yeah. I think when we get to the time travel plot, they kind of lose me. And then, like, the last book just, like, feels very rushed getting the plot across. I feel like we could have redeveloped that. But other than that, love the books. Very fun. Great concept. I love that the ending's, like, kind of open-ended. There's not, like, a solid, like, everyone got their justice or whatever. That's fun. Yeah, that's all I have. I have no other thoughts. My brain is so empty. I did better at reading this time, so I hope we're all proud. But whoever wrote those Wikipedia articles can choke. Your storytelling is not good. And I'm too lazy and / don't have the time to edit it all to make it make sense. So yeah. But that's all for that. I hope you enjoyed this 2-parter. And I will see you next time, hopefully with more thoughts and ideas. Okay, bye.